Hello, boys and girls. We're working on absolute value today, and remember you can always pause to take notes. This is CPM lesson 323, so you can go back and refer to your own notes in your book as well. This is for review packet page 5. Absolute value is the distance or number of units an integer is from 0, okay? And so let's take a look here. If we put a dot on -5 and a dot on +5, we know that yes, 5 is a much larger number than -5, but when we're talking about absolute value, we're talking about the distance from 0. Which one is closer to 0? Neither one. They are the exact same distance from 0. So if we have -5, or the absolute value of -5, how many units from 0 is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're not counting the negatives, it's just the distance from 0, the exact same as 5. So the absolute value of 5 is 5. And the absolute value of +5, also 5 units from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is 5. So you're going to find that when you do absolute value, it's always going to be positive, actually. Okay, so let's look at our worksheet. And let me take a look at, well, let's do number 1, okay? Number 1. What's the absolute value of -11? The distance from 0. The units from 0 is, it's 11 units from 0. So the absolute value of -11 is 11. And then it gets a little bit more complicated, and I'm going to look at example C here. The absolute value of x equals 9, because the directions here are determine the absolute value or the values of x, okay? Well, even though we don't know what the distance is from 0, it is x units from 0, right? And so it's going to be positive. X equals, no absolute value sign there, 9. Sorry, I'm at a slant here. Okay, let's look at a slightly more complicated one. This is example E in your packet. So now you have your negative, and it is not part of the absolute value sign. Negative absolute value of x equals -3. Okay, we are going to bring down this negative here because that's not part of the absolute value, right? And then the absolute value of x is simply x. But doesn't that end up being a -x, right? And then equals -3. Okay, so actually this is a little above 6th grade level, and if you want to skip problems like this one where you're going to end up with a -x, you can. But if you want to challenge yourself, here's how to do it. This is basically -1x, right? And don't we want to get x by itself on one side of the equal sign? So to get x by itself on this side of the equal sign, we need to use the inverse operation, which is division. Because this is multiplication. -1 times x is multiplication, so this is division. What are we going to divide by? We're going to divide by -1 because that's what we're trying to eliminate. What you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other. Okay, so this is a giant 1. -1 over 1 equals 1. And 1 times x is x. It's -1 over -1, okay? And like we discussed before, a negative times a negative is a positive, and also the same rule applies for division. So -1 divided by -1 is also a positive. Okay, so we have x by itself, and this is going to be a positive because of the fact that a negative divided by a negative is a positive. When the signs are the same, it's positive when you are multiplying or dividing integers. So -3 divided by -1 is going to be a positive 3. X equals 3. Oh, and you could not see part of that. Sorry about that. Okay. Didn't mean for that to happen. Okay. So then let's look at F. Okay, F. This is an example. It is the absolute value of 3 minus 8. All right, let's just go ahead and do it, but we'll keep it in the absolute value sign until we're ready to take it out. So 3 minus 8 is -5, but it's still absolute value. And then what is the absolute value of -5? What's the distance from 0 of -5 in units? It's 5 units away from 0. And so the absolute value of -5 is 5. Okay. I think those are the types of problems that you have on this assignment. And that's it. Thank you.